It's time to continue a look back at 20 years of Reboot Who. And coming up on Who's Views, they take a look at the girl who became a companion for a new generation. Billie Piper is Rose Tyler.
Hello everybody, it's us at Who's Views. How are you? It is lovely to see you. Come on into the chat and talk Rose. Yes, this is companion piece, Rose Tyler, as played by Billie Piper, as you all know. And this is another episode in our series marking the 20th anniversary of Reboot Who this March 2025. 20 years. It's just flown by for a lot of us, hasn't it? Really, really has. But yes, this is the one where we're going to be looking at the essential part that Billie played as Rose Tyler in making the show a success. Or has she? Do you know, I was saying on last week's show, actually, everybody, I was really surprised with last week's launch show where we looked at Series 1 with the overview. Because for all these years, Who viewers, I've been led to believe by various media sources and things like Doctor Who magazine and even the production offices themselves that Rose was the bestest thing ever about New Who. And along comes Lady of the Chat Kirsty and Emilio, Time Lord Victorious himself, and Miles telling me that possibly I'm wrong. I'm really looking forward to this show because I want to hear what they are saying about this because they grew up with her. Yes. Old hands like myself and Paul. Let's see what we make of it as well. Listen, before we start, I've got a couple of people that I want to say hello to. I want to say hello to the Village Pig. Hello, Village Pig. Yes, Village Pig was with us last night and said hello to us on our John Pertwee Character Options action figure show. And I didn't see you until after the show. But I want to say welcome to Who's Views. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. And Lex Kane, are you in the chat? I hope you're in the chat. I want to say thank you very much for your super chats, which Kirsty has got them all here for me, but she sent them over to me. Now, the reason I can't see them is because I logged on early, and because you put your super chats in earlier, Lex, StreamYard won't contain them. They won't keep them there, but they are here, and I've got them here thanks to Kirsty. And I want to address this one. Thank you for this super chat. If it's true RTD is leaving Doctor Who, if there is a new deal for Doctor Who, new showrunner or producer, and a new Doctor, but more evidence that Doctor Who is finished is Gatwa, and Gatwa has removed Doctor Who online from the social media. Yeah. We actually saw this at the weekend. We actually saw the Instagram thing there, and we had a wee chat amongst ourselves about it. There's a lot going on right now at the moment, isn't there, guys? Lex, yeah, there's an awful lot going on. What makes you think there's going to be a new deal for Doctor Who, though? Shock horror, aren't I naughty? But yes, lots going on. I know that lots of people are talking about it as well. We're going to be looking at it, of course, in headlines on Sunday, here on the channel, live at 8 o'clock. And we're going to see what's going to be going on in the next few days, because I think there's a pattern emerging here, everybody. More of that coming on Sunday. But thank you, Lex, for that one. Right, let's bring them on. Let's talk Rose Tyler, shall we? Let's bring them on. Joining me tonight for this companion piece, I do have the lady of our chat herself. There's Kirsty. Hello, Kirsty. We've got Paul here. We've got Emilio, Time Lord Victorious. And we've got Miles joining us again. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, it's good to see you all. Thanks for joining us for this second show in our 20 years of Reboot Who, everybody.
Yeah. Is it 20 years? Is it really 20 years?
20 years. And I love saying that.
I had hair 20 years ago.
I think I did as well. But I think
it's a lie. It's a lie.
I love it because it makes these three here in the middle here feel a little bit old.
Yeah, well, old. Yeah.
Wicked twirl.
Yep.
Yes. I also want to say thanks to Lex for this second super chat that he sent us. Rose was better and growing up in Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Rose was better and growing up in Stolen Earth and Journey's End. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight, everybody. Your views on Rose Tyler. Yeah, thanks again, Lex. So, who wants to start then? Who wants to start? Is that better? Yeah. Who wants to start?
The lady in style.
I don't mind. I'll go.
Go ahead, Miles. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go. Well, Rose Tyler, Billie Piper. I don't know. We said it sort of vaguely last week. I think her best sort of time on the show was I think series 1 personally. I definitely think that's when she was the best. I think series 2 went downhill. She just sort of became a copycat of David, and there was all this too much flirtation and all this sort of stuff going on, and it was just very sort of draining. But I think her story sort of ended perfectly by the end of series 2, and then she just kept on getting brought back and back and back and back and back. And I don't know if anyone actually wanted that, to be honest. But maybe some people did. But yeah, I thought bring her back for the 50th anniversary was just not even back as Rose Tyler, back as the moment as well. And it was no.
I think if they waited, Miles, until the 50th to bring her back, that would have been better instead of the bits in between.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That could have been a really good and a more impactful thing, really. But I want to say thanks to PTA here. Paul Thomas Ashworth, thank you. I loved Rose as a companion, but Donna was better, though. I also love Martha. It went downhill from then onwards. I mean, I have to say, all this is incredible for me, guys, because honestly, all I've been fed is this, obviously, what is now propaganda. All these years thinking she was the bestest thing. And thank you to Digby as well. Digby, thank you so much for your super chat. Evening, folks, can't join you live, so we'll watch up on the catch up. Well, thank you, Digby. Yeah, I know you're busy, so thank you very much for popping by anyway. And I hope you enjoyed the show on catch up. I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned by what people are saying about Rose because of this.
I mean, I said in the previous show as well about the fact the relationship with the 10th Doctor and her in season 2, they're very smug, very arrogant.
Oh gosh,
Didn't really like them, and the romance part of it aside, that the characters were a bit obnoxious, I think she worked better with Eccleston because they had a bit of a relationship, but she came back too often, and it spoiled the Doomsday cliffhanger when she was lost, in a different dimension, which was much more interesting,
That whole thing with the second series with Rose spoiled the first series with me, because I actually thought personally she was quite good in series 1, and then got very, very cocky with a very, very cocky version of the Doctor in the second series. That we talked about it, didn't we, last year on our Halloween shows, where we were talking about the Satan Pit, and the Impossible Planet. That's where I think it came through to me. Not just the fact. I didn't mind the fact she was a strong companion in that. She was very confident being in these alien surroundings. But that bit at the beginning of the first part of that, we could just get back in the TARDIS and leave. Ha, 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 ha. That was sending the show up as well to me.
Well, they were kind of doing that as well in Tooth and Claw with all their smugness with Queen Victoria and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? We are not amused, trying to make the Queen say it, all that kind of stuff. But just really obnoxious, didn't you think?
Oh, totally. Yeah. We've got Sadeko24 with us saying, I guess as the first companion of the new series and the new fans' eyes into the Doctor and the adventure, she was key to the reboot success. But frankly, she felt tired by series 2. All right, then, so you three. So that, you were there, you were new to the show. What do you think of what Sadeko's saying to us here?
Sorry, go ahead.
We're going to talk.
You go, Kevin. You go.
We'll start with Emilio. Go with Emilio.
I agree. I do think the kind of arc, if you think of Rose's arc, right? Season 1, somebody living a kind of mundane, very boring life. She lacked kind of a sense of purpose, and the Doctor kind of opens up her world. She's incredibly curious. She also brings a lot of empathy into season 1, especially with the Dalek, and and it's a nice kind of contrast to Eccleston's Doctor. When you get to kind of season 2, naturally, given that she's had a whole season of traveling in time and space fighting aliens, and she's getting a little bit older, you would expect her to be maybe slightly more mature. You would expect her to be a little bit more assertive and in situations. But I think the issue with that is that they completely went ham the kind of assertiveness and to the point that she becomes annoying and egotistical, and like you were saying, Paul, too. You can have maybe the Doctor being a little bit kind of smug about the situation, but when it is a bit, when you get both of them doing it, it just gets on. It rubs you up the wrong way, basically. Yeah. So I think had they in season 2 got the balance right in terms of, yes, she's going to be a bit more assertive, yes, she's going to be a little bit more mature, but they still showed that she was humble and didn't have like a big ego, then I think by the time she left, actually, I think it would have been even more of an impact in Doomsday had they had done that right. So I think they kind of gave her a big disservice in terms of how her arc finished, because they didn't play that balance correctly in that second season.
Wow. What are you thinking about this, Kirsty?
Yeah, I liked Rose when I was a kid. It was my first companion as well. And that's how Paul cottoned on that I was a Doctor Who fan, because talking about that, about the Bad Wolf being leaving, and that was my first companion going, and how like upsetting that was as a kid. As an adult, bringing her back for like the 50th anniversary in season 4, it's just showboating. It's like what we have now with David with 14 and 10. It's just bringing out the money. I always thought Rose was, like, when I was a kid, Rose was my favourite companion, and I thought, like, this brilliant, strong character. I'd always wanted to have that sort of thing, and being taken around and shown all the planets and whatnot, and go exploring as a kid. But then actually, now as an adult, I like Amy the best as a companion. I think that's true as a companion, true as a person. I think Rose is tired by season 2, and you can see a lot of behind the scenes that's been brought in, and it's them, both of them as actors and as characters. There's a bit too much of real life going into this as well, with them being too cocky and too I can do this all and I'm the bee's knees sort of thing.
I mean, I don't think neither in season 4 they had Catherine Tate, who was strong enough to carry that entire season. So they didn't have to have her there at all, I don't think.
It's interesting, isn't it, how the character progressed, because you got the role, if you like, or the characters, the companions progressed in New Who, from where you started with Rose. You got to Donna eventually, and then it went on from that, didn't it? But Donna is totally different, of course, to Rose, and I'm wondering if that's where they eventually realized exactly what the audience would allow. Because, of course, as I'm famous for saying, the first couple of years, soap opera, and I know that it continues, and it continues to this very day, sadly. But there was an element where they changed the role of the companion a little bit, and I think that was Donna, and I'm wondering if that was done deliberately, because the audience they thought the audience was comfortable now.
Yeah, I totally would be happier if they did turn the episode, because I loved the episode Turn Left at the end of Donna.
That's great. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite episodes, and I think having Rose or Billie just guest star in that one episode, and the Doctor never seen her, that would have been more interesting.
Yeah,
nice.
Donna could have carried that, and that would have been amazing. And Donna coming back and explaining this blonde girl and Bad Wolf, and him freaking out instead of him seeing it again, that running to each other in the arms and giving it Joan's love story. But the fact that she's had that glimpse, that would have been amazing. Would have been totally cool with that. But now you just bringing her out like a show pony. You don't need that.
It would have been brilliant in Johnny's End if they'd shot her instead of the Doctor. That would be interesting. Yeah.
Well, can we give a round of applause to the Dalek for
yes?
Before I was like, yeah, come on, Dalek.
Do you know, I am absolutely stunned by that. Honestly, this started last week with you guys saying this, and it rocked my world. And I was actually even saying to a friend of mine, we've been told a lie over 20 years, and it's coming along in the chat as well. Look at all this, guys. We've got a lot of people in the chat joining us with their view on this. Stephen Braddock is saying Rose started off well, even though in her first episode she treated Mickey so badly she didn't even notice when he was replaced by a plastic Auton. Sadeko also saying to us, I hated the way Rose treated Sarah Jane. It made me hate her instantly. And frankly, I thought the character should be treated better than that. Oh, I'm sure we're going to be coming to that in a second, mate, I tell you. Garbage is saying, loved Rose in season 1, but the second season, I thought she acted really well, but it was starting to wear off for me. I think Donna season 4, not the 60th specials monstrosity rubbish, was perfect. Paul Rose, I thought the character worked to widen the audience as intended. Some questionable writing traits later on, but not Billie's fault. and Paul Stenterford. I never liked Rose as a companion. I understand that they were trying to create a character that most people could relate to, but it came across as patronizing to people who live in council flats. That's the danger with doing a soap opera and getting it wrong. The arc in space, this might be controversial. Hurrah! But I don't rate Rose that highly. I preferred her with Eccleston and Tennant, but I like Martha and Donna more. I don't think that's controversial. Do you guys? I don't
Not
think
at all.
that's-
No.
No. And
That's
his
just
bill
common.
with in series 2, I thought Rose was meant to be increasingly unlikable in order to be brought down to earth by the end. Oh, I never thought of that, Bill. Did you guys think of that? That could be true, actually.
So it was deliberately being obnoxious. Then that's a bit of a dangerous game to play, don't you think?
Yeah,
It-
I can understand where Bill's coming from, though, Emilio. You know, building Rose up to this all sort of not powerful, but all confident, all knowing. I'm going to stay with you forever thing, and then bang, there she is, gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand it. If that was the case, then it's incredibly forced, right? It's trying to force emotion out of you.
Yeah.
I think you know they kind of went down a similar line with Clara, didn't they? In a way that she, you know, got kind of a big two boot Clara Who and got too big for her boots, and ultimately that was it didn't pay off in the end, but it should have paid off in the end in Fate to Raven. So they did a similar arc there, but I would actually say it was I think it was done better in with Clara than I would say Rose in terms of the arc kind of piece. If you take including season 7, but if you go season 8, so yeah, I do see what I mean, but it is that kind of, if the Russell T Davies, I want to force the emotion out of you, and you know, sometimes subtle is better.
Well, I think bringing about the characters, like we said, is a it's not a good thing to do, because I think, I know we've touched on it already, they're bringing back Liz Sladen and Sarah Jane. As much as I love Sarah Jane and I love that episode, it's kind of tainted Hand of Fear for me a little bit, but that's how I feel about it.
I'm the same about, you know, I mean, this is the danger when you're bringing back legacy characters, or even now their own characters, and we've now got Mel coming back into the next series as well, and it seems to be that they, you know, we've said this before, they're repeating that pattern of bringing back somebody familiar. I'm not sure why. Maybe to connect it to the original series or something.
Well, if it's not for us, why are they doing it?
Well, that's true. PTA's
Yeah.
with us. Thank you, Paul Thomas Ashworth, for your super chat. Bringing Rose back in Turn Left worked well, he says. It was a good episode, that one, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
But with that very dramatic build up on the end. But again, I was thinking, you know, at the time I was thinking, where can this possibly go now? But I like Kirsty's idea there of maybe have kept it there, they're not meeting, and kept it for the year after. But mind you, the new Tenant was going as well, so it would have been all bizarre. Mark,
sorry, go on. I was going to say, they did all these lovely moments through the season that were popping up. You know, as Kirsty said, if you did extend that worked quite well. But just the payoff is a bit meh, you know what I mean?
Mark Milford is saying to us, guys, when Doctor Who returned in 2005, companions became pivotal, almost universally exceptional figures who shaped events on a cosmic scale, sometimes bordering on being a chosen one. Yeah, that's where a lot of it fell down for me as well. I've never liked that. Clara being the case, Rose being the case, because she became the bad wolf, of course. It ran through them all. Donna became the most important woman in the universe and had her memory wiped. Martha was important as well because she saved the planet, didn't she, over a year? Amy, they sort of became a little bit more important than Doctor themselves for me, guys.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think it worked better if they actually focused on how, you know, the Doctor entering their life actually, you know, has an impact on them on their travels, but in a way that they get back to normal life. But what do they do with that? Basically, it's not explored, I think, enough in New Who. Just kind of having a companion not necessarily be the center, the person who saved the day all the time, but more kind of, you know, how does their experiences actually help them? They did it a bit with Martha, a little bit, I guess. But you know, I think again, you don't need to, as you say, JT, don't make everyone make them save the day and be the big most important person. Why can't they just be a normal human being who grows in their time in the TARDIS, maybe leaves or dies or whatever happens, but you know that you see the journey that person's gone on emotionally, but also in terms of, you know, maybe they saved the day once or something, you know. they don't need to do it every episode, but you know, I think they overplay that too much in the new season.
I could understand it, guys, if this had been a one series only. You know, these 13 episodes were self-contained. The Eccleston series was it. That was it. I could understand that. But it became that continuation because actually Rose has an incredible arc going on here, as we call it now, doesn't she? Throughout the whole thing, from Rose right till the parting of the ways, where she becomes this big bad wolf and the Doctor has to sacrifice his life in order to save her. And through that journey, you can see in that first series, you can actually see Rose growing, and you can see Billie's performance growing as Rose, which is quite nice. I like Billie Piper. I do like her. I've liked her since she was a pop star here in the UK. I love it. But you know, so I might be a little bit biased against Billie because she liked me as well. But anyway, what was I saying? Yes. So you've got all that going on there with that whole series, but there's so much packed into in the name of her development. You know, we were saying there, and I think you said last week as well, Paul, the way she treats Mickey is terrible as soon as the Doctor's wrong. It's
I wanted to put
awful.
in my head in there Rose Tiller's an absolute cow, but I changed my mind at the last minute. She is, really, honestly, she is. You know?
But it doesn't get any better, does it? I mean,
No.
This is why I don't like all this sort of element here. Why do the companions need to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Because it does get quite difficult, doesn't it? You know, because they automatically go off and leave them. And in Rose's case, it's also, she disappears for a year, if you look at the context of series 1. And then she still goes away with the Doctor and doesn't come back for a few months later. She reappears at Christmas 2006. And then it goes on from there, really. So when we get to this point in 2000 and the 6th series, there's nothing there between them. Is there really? There's nothing there. And she's controlled that. You know, poor old Mickey has had to go, right, okay, I've been dumped for an extraterrestrial. That's gonna mess with the guy's head, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
100%. I do think it's interesting in season 1. I think it's in Boomtown that they acknowledge that, and Rose actually acknowledged to herself that Mickey deserved better, right? So in season 1, I feel like they're more willing to highlight Rose's flaws. You know, Father's Day. She makes a kind of naive, stupid mistake, right, and basically causing the Reapers to come. So I think in season 1, they show Rose as a human being. That she's not perfect. She has flaws, and even the way that she treats Mickey. I guess in season 2, they almost build her up to be like perfect and great, and they don't really. I think she becomes almost inhuman. Now that is a little bit part of the arc, because at the end Jackie said to Rose, it's almost like you're not one day you'll be a woman off in a far planet and she won't even be human. So I get it's part of the arc, but I do think season 1 they got the balance of what's great about Rose, what's her positive traits, but also what are her negative traits, and definitely how she handled Mickey is definitely one of those.
Well, yeah, she just comes across, I think, there as terribly selfish. But you know what? Again, it sets a pattern. Certainly with the Clara thing as well. I mean, and now we've got this other thing coming on now with what's it called? Millie Gibson's character. What's that? Ruby. It's one of these things that RTD seems to like. We had Amy and the whole thing there with Rory going on. Yeah, maybe it's just because I come from proper Doctor Who. Get rid of all the family stuff. Just let the companion go off in space and time. It's a time machine. You can drop them off 5 minutes after you've picked them up if you need to, unless they get blown up by a Cyberman. Poor Rose is saying here, just remember when Rose ran into the TARDIS with a smile on her face. Who watching didn't smile too and look forward to new adventures? There was that element. I think that's a really good point, Paul. I think that's a really good element, sir. And I'd like to say hello and welcome to Who's Views to Kinder Cull. Nice to see you, Kinder Cull. The Ninth Doctor said, I don't do domestic. But that's how it turned out. Mickey, Jackie and Pete don't get that with Classic Who. Sarah was grown-up woman. No need to call mum every 5 minutes. Yeah, that's
well.
Right.
The Doctor ended up in Christmas dinner with them, didn't he? When he regenerated, so he's doing domestic there.
I hated all that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was really uncomfortable with that. He's a Time Lord.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Pertwee doing that for the length of time he was trapped on Earth every Christmas?
Well, he did have some what was it? Some of that vegetarian stuff that Professor Jones made. They had, remember, a dinner at the Nut House, didn't he? So yeah, So yeah,
Goo.
Goo, yes. Corn
Digby
was
is
it
saying,
was, yeah.
watching the classic series, I found the companions a lot easier to relate to as they feel more like human beings. And here's a point here from Stephen Braddock. I also hated how Eccleston's doctor trusted Rose in Father's Day, and she betrayed that trust, risking all of reality due to her selfishness. Yeah, that's where I started to get this sort of irate feeling with Rose. Oh, and I know that's what the story was about and how it played on the story, but I was just thinking, no. I don't know. There was just something about that. I don't know.
Well, I like that episode. That's one of my favorite ones from season
I
one.
love that.
I like that. Great episode.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoops. Not one of mine. Mark Greaves, thank you for your super chat. I remember getting dumped for a guy with a bigger bike than mine. Heaven knows what I'd think if it was an alien too. Thanks for that.
That's dramatic
Mark.
enough. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this thing in Father's Day. Now, I know the whole context of this story rolls around the fact that she's missing her father. She's missed her father. She's got the opportunity in a time machine now. I understand where the Ninth Doctor is also coming from when he actually tries to get at her, saying, when you heard the words time machine. And that's what put it into my head that maybe, could it have been that Rose had a sort of idea in her head about this all along to go and see her dad? I mean, I know it was there to explain time travel to newbies that were coming on, but I don't know. Do you see what I'm getting about when it comes from Rose there? She was sort of a little bit as they were saying, they're selfish, really selfish.
It's an interesting concept to play with because actually play the devil's advocate. Would you not consider that if you ever had a time machine? Would you want to go back and see someone that you've lost? Would you meddle and mess with time? Maybe they were trying to put it in that way, in a sort of Star Trek sense of you to think about that and how you would behave.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's relatable.
It's relatable, definitely. Yeah.
She's also meant to be 19, right? So she's young.
Yeah.
She's very young, and so she's, I think it's fine to show her making maybe, she an emotional, decision without necessarily kind of thinking it through properly. So I think it also plays into the age that she is as well. And I agree with what you guys are saying, that if you lost somebody, it would at least cross your mind. And if then you're in that position that you could save them, then you're probably going to do it. I would agree that it's probably a little bit naive of the Doctor, especially to go back the second time, right?
Exactly. I was going to say that. Going back twice is very stupid. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's another element where she shows the sort of same streak, and it's the series after, because she sort of gets a taste for this, doesn't she?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I love the fact the dog was Rose in that episode.
Yes.
That was superb.
Yeah, a whole show coming about the dog Rose coming up in the future here on
Superb. Looking forward.
No, I mean, but she can't leave it alone. So when she finds herself trapped in a parallel world, that aspect comes out again. And for me, it was getting a bit sort of a bit sort of frustrating, because she's making the same mistake again, even though she should have learned from the first time, because it is more or less the same sort of setup. Do you not think, all right, yeah, it was back in time in our world in the first one, but this is a parallel world where he's alive, and she could have had, it could have been disaster for them there. So
it didn't bother her mother, though, did it? In the end. There was a different dad, when they got together.
Yeah. Oh God. I just thought it was interesting how that side of her character, Who Views, was played and run out, with this whole thing about Father's Day in series 1, and then the Cybermen stories, which we are going to be reviewing later on this year, in series 2, where she makes, for me, the same mistake, and it's all about Daddy. And RTD is really bringing out that whole thing of she's a daddy's girl without ever knowing her dad.
Yeah.
Do you think he's trying to push the fact that she's sad there a bit too much? Because I do.
Yeah, because you could leave it as we're saying in season 1 that she's 19. We've all made mistakes at 19, and if that's a lot to hold on your shoulders as a 19-year-old, and all as 19 would probably make that mistake as well. But is that fool me once, cool, fool me twice? With season 2, that's just too much jabbing the loss of a parent, maybe, or the grief, and would you do that again? And actually, we'll talk more about that when we review it.
Yeah.
Seeing
Good,
that
yeah.
again, that episode's quite messy with the writing and how you've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a lot of mixing it together, which you can't do over those 2 episodes.
This time it wasn't the Doctor's fault that they ended up in that place or that time, you know, the other dimension, you know. But
John is saying to us here, I wouldn't mind going back in time and meeting my PE teacher. We'll move on. And Sadeko is saying to us, I don't think it's right to call it selfish for wanting to save someone she cares about. Wouldn't you? I would, because it's all about her. She was prepared to put the entire time, or the entire timeline of the future in jeopardy, because Pete had to die. You know, he had to die in that point, didn't he? He had to die in order to make her and Jackie in the future that they knew, because it would have been totally different. And she doesn't see that. The Doctor tries to point it out to her in Father's Day, and it's all about her. I think it's selfish, Sadeko.
Because doesn't the Doctor say at one point, either in that episode or later on, that he can go back to save his own people? Although he does it in the end, but he couldn't do that, so that's why we can't do it. You know.
And I think
it's more naivety than selfishness. If I could be, I think it's more naivety. You know, because I think she just doesn't understand. She didn't think through the consequences of what the action is. She's like, oh, you know, the Doctor can save people, and you know, you could, you know, but for the Doctor knows his responsibilities when it comes to time and, you know, fixed points and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's naivety. I do think, to agree with Kirsty, you know, if you would, by the time you get to kind of the Silent Men 2-parter, she's been with the Doctor for a long period of time. You know, she knows the responsibilities, and she knows that, you know, you can't mess around with things, and that you know, just leave things be, kind of. And so it didn't show a good progression in her on what should have been a good journey for her to go on. They didn't do that. As you said, JT, they just kept her in the same place that she was in season 1. So there's no growth between then and then the next season.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us in the chat, everybody. You're watching our companion piece. We're marking 20 years of Reboot Who here in March 2025. This is show 2. We've got 2 more coming along. More on that later. What have we got here? We've got Daleks Are Forever saying to us, I really like Rose in series 1. She's one of the best. Billie played her beautifully. Not considered an actress at that time. She wasn't, not at all. Series 2, not so good. She had done the Canterbury Tales, which was breaking her, but it was Doctor Who that really gave her that opportunity. And because she got to at least 10 million viewers in that first year, that really, you know, got her there, didn't it? And really made her.
Whatever you say about the character, Billie Piper played this character really well.
She was brilliant.
Regardless if you liked her or not. She was very good in it. She deserved all the plaudits she gets for playing that part. Yeah, she
did. Yeah. Well, I mean, she got so much as well here in the UK, didn't she? She got so much coverage. She got awards. It really boosted her career. Look where she's at now. Just well done, Billie, for really running with it as well, because it could have been, and with a lesser actress, it might not have worked. So great choice in Billie Piper there. And we've got Sir Sidney Rough Diamond. Now, this is the other thing that I get frustrated about. Sir Sidney Rough Diamond saying just the potential romance between the Doctor and his companions, always prevalent in New Who, sadly. Hence, it was feeling so operatic. It certainly was here, wasn't it? And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I'm still uncomfortable watching the episodes. I just don't like these romance things going on between the Doctor and his companions. I just don't like it.
It's slightly creepy without being a prude. He's 900 years old or whatever age he is at whatever point in the New Who series, and she's like 19. That's a bit, you know, so, you know what I mean? So, bit icky.
Yeah. But in school reunion, they make the point of the Doctor saying, look, like this, you know, I regenerate. You know, you guys just, you know, wither and you die, basically. You know, he can't. You know, he can't. He's also an alien. He's not going to be romantically inclined. You may be, and I think it's fine for Rose to maybe develop some feeling to the Doctor, which is fine. But the Doctor's never going to, you know, he's never going to reciprocate those feelings. And I think that's the problem. Is that it's fine if it's on the companion side, but the Doctor, it shouldn't even be in question that he's going to, potentially fall in love with a human being. I think for me that's the problem. I don't mind it being done in New Who if it's that way around, but they didn't do that, unfortunately.
I think the thing is, John Pertwee said is, I think you can have an attraction, be fond of somebody like a friend without the romantic part of it, and have the character of the companion maybe falling in love with another character like Dr. Jones in the Green Death or something like that, because you've got that's fine. It's a separate thing. You know what I mean?
It's interesting to hear what Emilio's saying there, Paul, about this whole subject, because obviously we know there is a group of new fans that have been brought up on the Reboot Who, and will insist that's always been the case in Doctor Who, when it hasn't. It plainly has not. You look at the first 26 years of Superior
But
Time.
these guys have watched classic Who. They know what's best.
Yeah. But it's not there in the original series. But what gets me, you mentioned School Reunion there, Emilio. What got me about that is that they actually tried to make Sarah, our beloved Sarah, the same as Rose, in the sense that they suggested that Sarah had romantic feelings for the Doctor, and yet when you go and look at Sarah's seasons, it's not there at all. And again, this was another episode, another part where I was thinking, here they are rewriting part of the history with a legacy character, as we now call them, who's not being treated that badly here at one point as well, although Sarah was giving as good as she got, of course.
Oh yeah, get you Tiger, what a great line that was.
Yeah, but it was a real case for me of being able to say, right, okay, they're trying to explain to a modern audience that this has been done before, and because they know that Rose is going at the end of that season, they're trying to say to the modern audience, she's not the first girl the Doctor's had. And it was lines like, who viewers you'll remember, it was lines like the Mrs. and the X.
Yeah.
Mickey
doesn't sit with me. I didn't like any of that. I thought, no. Because when the companions had met before, on the rare occasions that they had, it wasn't quite like that.
Yeah. That's an interesting line coming from Mickey, the Mrs. and the X. It's a really odd, motivated line. If he's been ditched by Rose, it seems an odd thing for him to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what did Tom Baker say? He said, "Have you met Sarah Jane, my best friend?"
He's my best friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I agree with Paul. Love doesn't necessarily mean romantically. Like the Doctor can love his companions in a paternal way, in a fatherly way, or brotherly way. If you're like Peter Davison, his companion more like a kind of brotherly, kind of sisterly kind of vibe, and that's fine. There's different versions of it, but I agree, JT. I think they tried to deliberately make a mirror between Rose and Sarah Jane to kind of up the drama in terms of what happens obviously later on in the season.
Dom goes saying to us the romantic stuff was in incredibly bad taste, but it's RTD and we know what he's all about. He's certainly shown his true colours over the last couple of years, hasn't he? Stephen's saying to us, also look at the way Rose suddenly treated the Doctor once she met Captain Jack. He was suddenly yesterday's man to her. Yeah, give me some Spock. All that nonsense.
Show me the moves, all that kind of stuff.
Steve Black, hi Steve, good job it wasn't Hartnell and Rose.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go with that one there. And again from Dongo, could you imagine Pertwee coming on to Joe or Tom messing around with Sarah Jane? It doesn't bear thinking about. No, I mean, it was, but yeah, I think this is why we've got a problem these days with some of the fans that came into new, because they are two totally different shows, in my opinion. And I think the companion's role is also, I think it's been devised and expanded somehow, and not in a necessarily good way. I think it started with Rose.
Do you think it was moving with the times, or just simply contrived? What do you think?
I think it's contrived. I don't think it was moving with the times at all. If you look at the success of the X-Files in the Wilderness years for us, and that Mulder and Scully original relationship, which he then played on because of all the media interest. But if you look at the original 3 or 4 years, that's not a romance. That's actually a more of a love-hate relationship, really.
It's will they or won't they kind of feeling, isn't it? It's that kind of idea, that tension of could they, but they're not
from the audience, but not necessarily from them. They were just two mates that were going around together, because it did remind me of it. But that's, I think, why the Tennant and Donna thing worked, because that was totally out the window straight away. That one wasn't it? But with this whole thing, I don't know. I mean, you guys were watching this at the time, Kirsty. What did you think?
TV shows nowadays are okay to have the will they, won't they, or buddy cop romance, but girls can have male friends and it doesn't have to be romantic. You don't have to copy everything. That's why Donna works so well.
Yeah.
I
just want to meet. That was a great line.
Yeah.
that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, girl, you can write that, and it's nice, and it's okay. We'll accept that you can just run off with a mate and just go see the stars. That's okay. I was seeing season 2. I didn't mind that. I didn't realize as a kid what was really going on with Sarah Jane, and I didn't really know properly yet that that was his best pal. But so that infuriates me now, watching that again as an adult, going, no, that's not the ex.
Did you think that Sarah Jane was his mum? What did you think? I mean,
no.
Just check.
No. I knew she was a past companion, but I didn't know that it wasn't like a romantic thing or anything. Like, there was nothing that ever happened. It was just my best pal. But that's the thing, you can also write as well, and that also happens in real life, that you can have a male or a female friend. It doesn't always have to be romance and sunshines and giggles and, oh, I love you so much, and star-crossed lovers. You don't need that.
No.
Yeah. I think that's what attracted so many same-sex attractive boys and girls to the original Doctor Who back in the day. You know, and I'm talking about my generation now who have grown up, because here was a male character who had no interest at all in anything sexually. No interest at all. And a string of beautiful women along the 26 years and nothing there at all. And it was, in a sense, that's why I think a lot of us gravitated towards that, because whether it was Tegan or Turlough, nothing. They were just friends. And it showed you the importance of friendship on these really, really bizarre adventures through space and time with mad robots and professors and creatures that were trying to make you like them, and you know, gargoyles coming alive. And it was amazing times here. But here you've got this added bit where Rose actively flirts with the Doctor, and in cases he flirts back with her, and that really makes me uncomfortable to this day, when it's going on all the time in the show today, isn't it? You know,
we did talk about with the Impossible Planet review, but all that stuff about, oh, maybe the TARDIS is gone, maybe we could get a flat together, a mortgage, all that kind of stuff. That was all.
That's
Please, no.
so annoying. Yeah. I do think they missed the trick in the new series. If they just left that, the Doctors obviously shouldn't be romantic, but they've not done like a, will they, won't they, with, let's say the Doctor ends up acquiring 2 companions, and they're kind of like, there's a growth in the companion relationship between a male and a female, and eventually maybe they get together and decide to leave or something. We've not had that kind of dynamic. You said, JT, you already have a case where Rose already has a boyfriend, or Amy already has Rory. But I do think if the Doctor maybe acquired two companions, and then there was a relationship there, you can, if you want to have the romantic element in there, you could do it there, but not with the Doctor. I think.
I just didn't know. Having reviewed Series 1, Miles, recently for these shows where we're marking the 20th anniversary of Series 1, and looking at Rose again, and this is not about Billie, because I think Billie is wonderful. I love her 2 bits. I like her. I always have, and I love her performance. But as the older I've got, the more I've seen some more into that character. So we're talking about this. So she's with Mickey at the start of the series. She meets the Doctor. Then she goes on her travels. She also meets, mustn't forget, she also meets somebody else. She meets what's his name that I covered last week on Satellite 5? No, on the Dalek episode. What's his name?
Adam.
Thank you. Just got straight out. And there's something going on there with her. And then she gets to Captain Jack, and there's something going on there with her.
Yeah.
I mean, on 19-year-old
Mickey's well shot of her, honestly.
Yeah, on 19-year-old girls, all hormones like this. Is this what they do? Is this go flirt with anything that's moving? I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was unreal, Miles, Kirsty, and Amelia. Looking back on it now, I'm just thinking, my goodness, what is she doing? There's no. And this is what let me down with the companion front, because this is totally new for somebody like me coming to the show, even all these years later. I think this is a culture shot in Doctor Who.
Is that maybe also his writing that I'm just seeing a few people in the chat say this as well, about how maybe this is RTT's version of like a stereotypical chavvy mum and daughter and council estate that all 19-year-old
Well, the Vicky Pollard syndrome.
Yeah, she should have 4
stereotypes.
kids by now. That's the thing. Yeah.
If that's just him writing that in a way that you just drop your kegs to anything that moves.
There's the another parallel universe, Doctor Who, the Vicky Pollard Rose, where she's got the 9 prams.
Yeah, all to
strung
different
together.
fathers. That's what it was.
Maybe it was all the babies and space babies were all Rose's children.
Oh,
See what you got
Fantastic
there,
bit of
Emilio.
fiction that would
God.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a look in the chat very quick, guys, and see what they're all saying to us. Jordan C, hello, nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. In Chibnall's era, Jodie's Doctor, the love between Doctor and companion, you sort of knew it wasn't in the face or really that much reciprocated. I can't comment on that because I never watched that era, Jordan C. These guys did, so they possibly can. But
wasn't planned.
Yeah, that was even more ham-fisted than what they did with Rose and the Doctor. Honestly, yeah.
right.
It was different to wind us up.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah, well, because it was a same-sex thing, which is very sad.
Yeah.
And I apologize to everybody that lived through that as a same-sex attracted man. It shouldn't be done. But again, for me, it comes away from that element, Jordan. The Doctor is not human. He is an alien. He is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. He doesn't have the same emotions as us. And he shouldn't, in my opinion, being a fan of the 26-year run, he shouldn't be looking at human beings going, ice cream. It shouldn't be on. It shouldn't be doing that, you know. What else we got here? Walter White, nice to see you. Walter White Jr. saying to us, really missed when the Doctor's romantic inclinations weren't even a consideration. It makes his character just a stereotypical sex-obsessed human, not a mysterious alien Time Lord. Well, hear from me.
Yeah, he's not Captain Kirk, is he? Let's be honest. You know what I mean?
No, Captain Kirk.
He had a girl on
fine.
every planet, didn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
You know,
but because he was human, and
Yeah.
as it says in series 1, humans danced. Adoring praise, good to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. As a person who didn't grow up with the original, I didn't understand some feedback people had until after I finally watched Classic Who. Well, at least you went back and watched it, Adoring praise. Good for you, because a lot of people who came to the show with series 1 with Christopher Eccleston didn't go back. These 3 did here on the panel tonight, which is great, but a lot of people didn't, and that's where I think there's been this huge divide today. Here's Steve saying to us, Steve Black, Romana was never looked at by the Doctor, and she was his own species, nor the Rani either. Fair enough. Yeah. And Walter's also saying to us, Adam was the most forgettable companion ever. But I think, again, RTG did go on record back in 2005 saying that Adam was deliberately set up to be a failure to make Rose look good, because according to RTG, only the chosen few become the Doctor's companion.
But then the next episode in Father's Day, she makes a massive mistake.
You get lumbered with him like Abdrick, like he was a stowaway. You get lumbered with him like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's his belief in what the companion is, Emilio. You know, I'm going to make Rose the best as ever, because she's my companion, and I'm raising the profile of the companion, the role of the companion. A bit hypocritical to the original series when they were up there, really, in my eyes.
I think that goes back to kind of we obviously see, you know, the kind of contradictions in kind of RTD writing, because, you know, on one hand you've got, like, you know, as you were saying in Empty Child, Dr. Dancer, you know, Rose is obviously interested in, you know, Captain Jack, and, like, you know, he's more like Spock, and you know, in some instances you get very much the Doctor's alien, he's not interested in humans, and even in Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. But at the same time, in Dalek, you have the Dalek saying, you know, about the woman you love, basically, and it just feels like it's just full of contradictions, even in season 1, let alone season 2. I just don't know why the Dalek would like assume that the Doctor loves Rose, and where did that come from? You know what I mean? It's just, and then on the other hand, he's you know, I don't do domestic, and he's clearly meant to be like alien. So it's full of one episode one thing, the next episode saying another thing. There's no consistency there, which I think is an issue.
Well, spot the consistency in all the series from 2005 onwards, because there's contradictory levels in each series, really, isn't it? It's always going back to something. Yeah. I remember RTD saying at the time, says Domgo, that a modern audience would not believe that a man and a woman traveling universes together in a phone box wouldn't have a relationship. It depends on the relationship.
Phone box is bigger on the inside. There's more room. It's fine.
I remember him saying something similar to that.
Together.
I remember him saying something similar to that as well. I remember at the time thinking, no, you're wrong here, because it depends on the relationship. And the relationship is the Doctor and his companion. And the British public knew what that meant. And he rewrote that deliberately. You know, it could be that I'm totally wrong, and because it did work for him, they were getting great viewing figures. But I still believe, had it been the Doctor and the Rose played by Billie Piper, and it was a less sexually charged relationship, I still think it would have worked with the public, because the British public knew, and certainly those parents that were bringing kids like these three into the show knew what the Doctor and the companion were about. And in a sense, it's safe viewing, which it isn't anymore.
Yeah.
Don't fix what isn't broke. It worked in classic Who. The audiences don't change that much. And if Kirsty says, guys can have female friends and girl can have guy friends, it doesn't have to be romantic. And actually, having a kind of platonic relationship, a really strong one, is actually, it's without the kind of romance baggage that comes with it. It's a great relationship to watch and view. So yeah, I think it's something that we don't really see on TV too much nowadays, which is a real shame.
It is a shame now, isn't it? Because it has gone that way now, and I think that's part of the reason. I think there's many reasons why people don't watch television anymore, and are more selective by what they watch. And I think part of it is just because they're sick and tired of having that thrown at them, and this thrown at them, and that lecture to them, and that lecture to them. And Doctor Who is a casualty of that now as well. And when you look at it, Who viewers, it all starts here in 2005, because everything leads to where we are now. If you look at it, as I've been doing recently, putting headlines together, you can piece it all together. I don't know what I don't know what they're playing at, basically. Farsight's saying to us here, Sarah Jane or Ace are far better companions of Rose. She was just plain irritating. Again, see, I'm still shocked by all this. It was always companion interaction, not romantic, says Steve Black. And Jordan C saying to us, I love Series 1, my second favourite season of the New Who. Series 3 has got to be superior and the best yet of the revival. Nothing has topped it. Happy 20 years to New Who. Yeah, that's why we're doing this series as well. 2 more to come. And Walter, RTD also said that companions had to be from a modern point of view. Yes, he did. It's too hard to write from a point of view not our own, which ignores the great success of Leader on that score. And again, if you look at the importance of Rose Tyler here, she became the template for absolutely everything that's followed right up to Ruby. Ruby was more or less a carbon copy. What do you think?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then Belinda's the copy of Martha. So here we go.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that one.
Well, she's a nurse, isn't she? That's the thing. That's the as well, which is even more of a copy, isn't it?
Yeah, well done on that one. It was brilliant. I mean, it's an interesting story when you look at both Series 1 and Series 2 for Rose and Billie, and then where she goes after that. What did you think, guys, about the development to the very end of Series 2 then, and the parallel world type scenario where that's where she gets out the TARDIS, basically?
I think it's a perfect ending. I think that's honestly, they should have just left it there. Maybe what Kirsty said, bring her back in Series 4 is a little, oh, she returning sort of thing. But I think, yeah, definitely perfect way to finish it, because like we were saying, there was consequences to her actions of acting so smug throughout Series 2, and that was a perfect way to finish it. Just leave her stuck there, can't see the Doctor anymore, and that's her sort of punishment. So I think that's a perfect way to leave her.
Oh, you used the word punishment. I hadn't thought of it that way, Miles. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think totally the best way to do it. Or personally, I think maybe kill her off at the end of Series 1, as much as it sounds a bit harsh. But, it would have then had some sort of sacrifice. She would have sacrificed herself to save the Doctor at the end of Series 1 and maybe had a bit more weight to it. But I don't know, that's my personal thought.
Well, I'm still concerned that she managed to survive absorbing the entire time vortex, but the Doctor has to regenerate. So how did that work? You know what I mean?
I completely agree with Miles. I think that would have been the perfect ending for her, because it would have shown that she as she's saying in the coffee shop and fish and chip place, I can't remember which one it is, but she's basically saying like the Doctor, he showed you a better life. You don't just sit down, you stand up, you fight, basically, you do the right thing. And so having some sacrifice there, she basically sacrificed herself to save the Doctor. Wow, what an impact that would have had, and what an arc that would have taken her journey. you know, at the end she found purpose and she sacrificed herself for it. I think, wow, I would have just been like, yeah, that's a great way to end the season, and then the Doctor regenerate. So yeah, Miles, great thinking there. That would have been brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Should take RTD's job. Miles for showrunner. There you go.
Any day.
Somebody's got to at the moment. Oh, sorry, that's another show. It's interesting what the two of you are saying there, actually. I love this because it is these three that have grown up with this, Paul, and they're giving me other ideas now. Because, as I say, the last 20 years I've been running around because of the things I've read, because of the things I've heard, because of the things I've seen, because of the conventions I've gone to. Rose was the best ever of the whole 20 years. And I have been, you know, it's been around all this time. And it's really refreshing to hear, not necessarily, and here's why. But what you're both saying there, Miles and me, I think that's really, really interesting, because that whole thing, I'm not that smulchy, I have to be said. I'm not that romantic, honestly. I can't be asked. There's a bag of chips. Are you still here? Get out. Do you know, that's me in a nutshell, basically. But you know, that whole thing about doomsday, everybody around me seems to be and I was bored to tears. Honestly, I was bored to tears. I was crying for another reason. I was absolutely bored. I was just like, what is it? Was like the Doctor's regeneration.
Yeah.
Just go. Just do a Romana on Tegan and just go. But
I liked when they were touching with the wall and the music for that. I thought that was brilliant.
The music's good, yeah.
Music is brilliant.
And the music helps that as well, and they're giving it big licks. That performance is brilliant, and you're really with them in that moment. But with the Bad Wolf being following the whispers in the beach and how she's egging it on to pretend that she's pregnant and stuff like that, but actually Jackie's up the duff, and me and the baby. He's like, oh, the baby, and she's like, oh, you silly muppet, it's my mum's, and like Bad Wolf Bay, that was just like him just reaping into, look at me, and I'm paying off this thing, and he just left it. Somehow maybe there was like a sign, but nothing like that. They didn't need to do that.
Again, it was writing, wasn't it? It was RTD for me trying to be too emotive, trying to get too many people talking about it to get them involved in it. But 2 years wasn't even one of the longest running companions in Doctor Who history. Yeah, I don't know. Edward, nice to see Edward. He's coming in saying, I liked Rose in season 1, season 2. I really didn't like her character. A lot of people in the chat saying that tonight. And Dom goes saying the end of series 2 was so contrived. You could hear the wheels going around in RTD's head watching it. Yeah, I do agree with that. And Stephen Braddock, I hope that star the Doctor was burning up to talk to Rose didn't have an inhabited world around it. That's the point. Again, selfishness comes out, to be quiet. But I mean, the thing... the other reason why I would say that Rose was slightly selfish is she's on this parallel world, and what does she do? You know, she spends the time trying to do something to get back to the Doctor.
Yeah.
And she's got a family there. She's got a new father, her new old father. She's got Mickey there. Good luck with that. And she's got a mother there in that parallel world. So instead of going a fresh one, she joins Torchwood and starts looking for the Doctor.
Yeah. Well, she's not got Mickey for long, has she? Because he goes off for Martha, doesn't he? So
yeah. But I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to the Cyberman story later this year, of course. But he leaves deliberately, doesn't he? Once he finds himself back in his own London, he's off. He's gone. He doesn't care about her anymore. Right? That's it. Gone. Because he spent
good.
years with her.
I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Yeah, but she's obviously treated him nonchalantly in the parallel world. She's kept him at a distance. She's gone off. She's gone off him, hasn't she? Here.
Yeah.
I just think it's just very bizarre, and I think it was disappointing for the character. I think she deserved better, to be honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it would come across better if she wasn't smug and not romantic. Those two elements would have made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think so.
And if they had sold the emotion on the fact that, you know, she's the companion that kind of got the Doctor out of his PTSD in the Time War, and so she does play a significant impact in his life. I think if they had played on that and the impact that she's had on him in a non-romantic way, because there is something there to say that she, you know, of a lot of the companions, she does play a significant. She does have a significant impact on him. I think they don't focus on that. They decide to focus on the romance, but I do think they could have honed in on that a little bit more.
Interesting point here from Craig. Hiya, Craig. I thought Rose's monologue about the day she died, when she really didn't, was overdone and overly melodramatic. Well, it was deliberately done like that, wasn't it, to get people watching the episode? Do you remember, remember, guys, there was the incident where Peter Davison himself phoned RTD and said, "You're not killing her this week, are you? Because my boys are in hysterics." And then that's where RTD turned around and said, "You hypocrite. Do you remember a character called Adric?" Yeah. But it's obviously done that way to build up the publicity, wasn't it, and get people watching, you know. And I think there was an awful lot of people around me at the time, you know, in offices and stuff, saying, "Oh, is Billie Piper being killed off?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You're gonna have to watch it." Jordan C saying, "Am I wrong in saying Clara is so far the longest running companion in both classic and new?" I think you are. You guys will know about. Isn't there a Jodie Whittaker one that's the longest running in new?
Well, Yaz did 3 seasons, all of Jodie's time, but not as many episodes, I think, as Clara did. But
okay, we'll check that one out, Jordan, because it could is Clara the longest running out of all of them? I hope not.
I think so.
Yeah, Amy did 5, 6, 7. Clara did, or no, like 5, 6, 7, A, and Clara did 7B because they split that one up. 7B, 8, 9, 10, or no, or did Bill do 10, and then it goes into Jodie.
Bill done 10.
Bill does 10, and then Jodie goes on from 11 onwards.
It's very confusing with all that 7A and 7B nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I keep saying, I'm going to remind you what we lost the series with Matt Smith, everybody.
Yeah.
You can email me, whosviews1@gmail.com. But we lost the series with Matt Smith. Julianne, good to see you. Timey-wimey, maybe the star he burnt up was the one that Joy woman ate at Christmas.
Good wish.
That would be quite fun, wouldn't it? That would be quite fun. Yeah, I like that one. Well done, Julianne. Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting one. I mean, Rose, from my point of view, looking at the original 26 years and then this, I know we're saying it's 20 years. There haven't been 20 years of seasons, but it's 20 years, isn't it? I don't put Rose particularly up there. Do you guys?
No. I said I put Billie Piper up there quite high because she did really well, really good performance. But the character is definitely flawed, without a doubt. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's a yes and a no thing. It definitely. That it's that kind of sentimental, special feeling that she was she was our first companion with New Who. So you got to give it that, like that it's your first one. But as I agree with Paul, Billie is a phenomenal actor and has had a stellar career since being in Doctor Who, and like kudos and like hell yeah to her for that, everything that she's done. But as a character, you can see now the flaws. You're like, oh, actually, you know, that's a big red flag as an adult, or I wouldn't behave like that. That's not the best way how to handle yourself as a woman, but also as a character as well.
Fabulous.
I mean, what message does it give, to be honest, of some of her behaviour, to be honest, for kids? It's interesting.
You can see that, like, for a 19-year-old as well, especially the first one, you can see that is a teenager growing into a young woman. But season 2, they always say, like, when you're 25, 26, your frontal lobe develops. It needs to bloom and hurry up because she's still acting as if she's 18, 19.
Yeah.
And it's not a good message that you can just mess men around or just speak poorly of people and just ditch them and run and just think that you can click your fingers and everything's going to be okay.
I think that's what makes, like for me, if I'm going to just look at the RTD companions, RTD1, you know, Rose is at the bottom of the list. I much prefer watching Martha and Donna because they're grown-ups. You know, they're adults. You know, they know their responsibilities. They know how to treat people. They're mature. I think that's what was really lacking with Rose. So I always gravitate to watching those two companions. You guys have said it's not to do with the quality of Billie's acting. I just think, in terms of what you want from a companion, I think Martha and Donna are much, much better.
Wow. Would you agree with that, Miles?
Yeah, totally. I think that's why Catherine's held to such a high standard, because she also didn't have this love interest with the Doctor compared to Billie. But I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think she's probably my bottom of the list for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, nah, not my favorite.
I'm stunned. I honestly, I am really stunned. My world has been opened up here with all this after all these years of being and seeing told these things. Absolutely amazing. Can I ask you then, everybody, and you in the chat as well, Rose, as we were talking about before, she's in series 1, she's series 2, then she starts to reappear in 4. And Kirsty, you were saying that was too early, and I'm inclined to agree with you. And I like your idea of doing the turn left and then leaving it and possibly bringing her back in the specials the year after. I know the time was against them, because here's RTD building up to this very climactic thing where he brings everybody that's been in his era as a big hurrah to say, look at my era, wasn't it wonderful? And it was at the time. We were all, those 2 last episodes of his outside the specials that round off Tennant's time are really good. But she also makes an appearance again in the Christmas Invasion, pre the 2005 version, where before she's met the Doctor. The whole thing about her story here, it does have a sort of resolution, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced about it. I thought that I was very uncomfortable with this whole thing. There he is again trying to repeat the effect of Doomsday, and for me ruined it completely, as he tends to do. You can have a really good emotional edge, and he did this with Rose, and then he did it with Donna in those awful 60th anniversary things.
Starbreach,
yeah. Would you want to see her come back, knowing what eventually happened to her, or do you think this should be it now?
No,
don't bring her
it's
back,
done.
please don't.
Yeah, no more.
No.
Wow.
No.
I did like her in Day of the Doctor. There was the moment that was a good way of bringing her back and not make it a play Rose. That worked quite well for me, so I like that.
I reckon can I just say, Farsight, I like Tooth and Claw, but I found Rose and her attitude to Queen Victoria very annoying. That's what we're saying here. In season 2, she really did start to get a really bit, didn't she? Really. But yes, the whole thing about the moment, that was a clever way, because the audience wouldn't really necessarily, the not-wees wouldn't have got into that as much, but it's not Rose. It's based on Rose, but it's not Rose. But it's a great way for Billie to come back. And I personally reckon she did that to work with the legend that was John Hurt.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, you would. Any actor at the time, if you're going to get scenes with John Hurt, you'd sign up straight away, wouldn't you? Wouldn't even look at the script. You'd just go, right, if he's going to be in it, sign me up. I'm good for Billie.
Was he in it at that point when she was signed up, though? Were they waiting for Eccleston to say no at that point?
Yeah,
I wonder. Yeah.
I think what makes it interesting is, almost like the antithesis of Rose. She's very, very posh in her speaking and her mannerism. I know Billie, relatively.
It shows her versatility as an actor, doesn't it?
It does show her versatility as an actor, but I also think it's interesting to have like her on screen, playing very clearly a different character that's based off Rose, basically. So I thought that was good.
Sadeko said the character at the moment is actually far closer to Idris and the Doctor's wife than to Rose, or something of a merger. I hadn't thought of that before either. But you're right. I think that's a good point. And Heretic, nice to see you, mate. How does she meet the Doctor's New Year's Day 2005 but not know his face when he regenerates? Well, apparently he's in the shadows, isn't he? And you can't make him out. But of course, for the viewer, you have to be able to see David Tennant because he's the star.
Yeah.
But in the fiction of it, Rose can't see his face, apparently.
Yeah.
That's it there. But
I think had they done what Kirsty said, right, and turn left, basically, like he never gets to meet her. And then as he regenerates, he popped back just to, so he could, just say, look, to where it all started, kind of. Then that would have been much more emotional than what they did, which is basically just bring her back for the season 4 finale, give her a Doctor doppelganger or clone, whatever, that she can have a romantic love interest. I think they just, again, it just it's RTD and his plaything. Basically, you get too excited. You think they're so big, and if I bring her back, it could be amazing, and all of it. And they're just getting carried away rather than thinking it just what's best for the character. It just what's best for that individual's arc. You know, is that really going to bring the most emotional impact and weight? He doesn't think like that. It's like too many toys, and I'm getting excited.
Absolutely. And you can see that perfectly in the Stolen Earth and Journey's End, where he's obviously rounding off. It's very obvious he's rounding off his era then of Doctor Who with everybody that's been in the toy box. Everybody bar Eccleston, of course. You know, so that's fine. You've got everybody there, haven't you, around that in that TARDIS set at the time. That's the people I've had here, blah, 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 blah. And yet, Kirsty's made me think it would be more sensible to have that turn left episode, therefore setting it up. And then the Time Lord Victoria stuff, it could have been Rose that said, "Oi, come back here. What are you doing here?" Do you know what I mean? And slapping him down, possibly leading to a regeneration. This is what we do as fans. We start going off on tangents, don't we? We really do.
The thing is, though, the thing is with Johnny's End, though, is how many Tennant Doctors do we need?
Yeah, Russell can't help himself, can he? He has to give one to Billie, one to Catherine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you know what, Miles? We've all got the action figures already, though, of the Tennants, haven't we? He's trying to keep up with the action figures now, so there must be another 35 to go. Let's face it here, I tell you.
And he's coming back as well. So there we are.
That's not true. As far as we know, that's not true. Listen, there's a lot of people. The question I asked you, there's a lot of people answering it. Should she come back? Darren Ep Ken, good to see you, mate. No, her story is done several times, I would think. Oh, look, yes, says Robert Payne. Bad Wolf Girl was good. Hiya, Village Pig. Good to see you. Welcome. I said hello to you at the top of the show here. If you just joined us, but thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. I saw you last night, but only after the show finished. So welcome. It's nice to see you. What else is anybody else there? Sorry, Paul, says Craig Dunlop. I don't think she should have been in Day of the Doctor. The only reason that would have made sense is if Eccleston had come back for that.
That's true. Yeah.
It is very true. It really, really was true. Remember the cringe story where they made Donna half Time Lord, says Kester Jones? Yeah, and that's where Rose sort of got sidelined in that one a little bit, didn't she?
Yeah.
What else we got here? Lots of you in the chat. Thank you very much for coming up. No, says Farsight. Look, no more Rose. And Paul Stenterford, Rose should never come back. In my opinion, she already outstayed her welcome. Well, I have to say my mind is blown. It really is. This has been an interesting show. We started it last week with our Series 1 overview. It's been an interesting one here in Companion Piece now. Not what I was expecting when I started to put this show together a couple of months ago. I thought it was going to be a big love-in for Rose. But obviously not. Really interesting. Really, really interesting. And a bit of a difference, I think. Stephen Braddock also saying to us, Rose should have been in turn left and back as Rose in the 50th, but after that, all done.
Yeah.
And Paul Rose is also saying, no reason now they couldn't bring her back at some point, but never say never, but only in a limited capacity. Well, okay, fair enough. Of course, she is back with Eccleston, of course, on the audio. So if you're interested in that, those are on the way for you. Good luck with those if you're going to get them.
And she has done stuff with Tennant already. So if you want more of that, listen to that. You know.
Well, obviously Billie loves it, so that good for her. Good for her. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you, everybody. Where are we going next time in this series? Yep. Continue to mark our 20-year series of Reboot Who. Next Wednesday here on the channel, live at 8, it's our biggie. The highs and lows of 20 years of Reboot Who. But is it time to call it a day? The format of this show is the usual discussion show. This is where the panel will be with me, telling us, and we'll be talking about their favourite moments in all these series of Doctor Who since 2005, and their lows as well. We're going to be covering all of the Doctors, as you can see there. Yes, indeed, including the Whittaker era. That I may take up most of the show. It's totally up to you guys. I'll go where you guys want to go, but come and join us live for that next Wednesday. I think that's going to be very interesting. The week after that, of course, on the 26th itself, the night that Doctor Who came back all those years ago, we are going to be, of course, what else? We're going to be reviewing Rose. So there's your alert there, 2-week alert. Go back and watch Rose on whatever format you've got it on. and then come back and join us for that one on the night itself. It's all go here on the channel, isn't it? To Kirsty, to Paul, to Emilio, and to Miles, thank you so much for coming on to this. I've really enjoyed that. It really has been very interesting to see what you've all been saying about that. And as I say, I'm shocked. Bill is.
It was fun. Thank you.
Look at this. Bill saying, JT, you'll have to watch Whittaker to join in. Not a chance. They will be able to do it for me. And Pastor Joan, look at this. I like Rose with Eccleston. They had a connection. It was certainly, for me, a stronger pairing than the Tennant Rose one.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about that, but for me, yes, it was a lot better with Eccleston and Rose. And Paul Stenford, I can't wait for those. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, thank you for all your things. What's this? Paul Rose saying to us as well, JT, they might be moot by then. The BBC trying to things out with Disney now. Yeah, be careful about rumours and stuff. Let's see what happens.
It's all lies.
It's all lies. Yeah. Don't forget our next scheduled show. I'm starting to use the word scheduled now. You'll probably see why in the future. But this next scheduled show is Sunday. Come back and join us for headlines. Keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And make sure you like this video and do all the usual stuff that you have to do. Isn't that right, Kirsty?
Yep. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and give us a big fat like as well, please.
I do love a big fat like. So please do that. Really, really appreciate you joining us tonight for this one. So from all of us, we'll see you again next week for the big discussion show. Pauline and I will be here on Sunday, God willing, touch wood, for headlines. Until then, ta-ra, everyone. Look after yourselves. We'll see you soon.
Good everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.